Muscles that we need to know. Pronator teres. Medial epicondyle into lateral surface of radius, and it does pronation. Pronator quadratus from the lower ulnar surface into the radial surface, and it does pronation as well. Supinator lateral surface of lateral epicondyle into the lateral surface of radius, and it does supinate. Wrist, we've got flexor carpi ulnaris, which goes from the medial epicondyle into the pisiform, and it does flexion and ulnar deviation. Flexor carpi radialis, medial epicondyle into the palmar surface of second and third metacarpals, and it does flexion and radial deviation. Then we've got palmaris longus coming from the medial epicondyle into the carpal tunnel, and it's a weak flexor. Extensors, we've got extensor carpi radialis longus, lateral epicondyle into the base of second metacarpal, and what it does, it extends and radially deviates. Then we've got extensor carpi radialis brevis, which extends and radial deviates coming from the lateral epicondyle to the posterior surface of the third metacarpal. We've got extensor carpi ulnaris, which extends and ulnar deviates coming from the lateral epicondyle into the fifth metacarpal. Then we've got extensor digitorum, which extends the proximal phalanges, the distal phalanges, the wrist, and it goes from the lateral epicondyle to the distal and middle phalanges from second to fifth. Then we've got flexor digitorum profundus. So we go from here, from the ulna, and into the distal interphalanges from second to fifth. We've got lumbricals, which originate from the lateral side of the digitorum profundus, and what they do, they flex the metacarpophalangeals, and extend the proximal and distal interphalangeals. Then we've got flexor pollicis longus, which flexes the thumb, and it goes from the radial tuberosity around here into the distal phalangeal of the thumb. We've got abductor pollicis longus, which abducts the thumb, and it goes from between the ulna and radius middle point into the metacarpophalangeals of the thumb. We've got flexor digiti minimi brevis, which flexes the carpometaphalangeals of the little finger, and it goes from the hook of hamate into the proximal interphalangeals of this little finger, so around here. Then we've got abductor pollicis brevis from escaphoid into the proximal interphalangeals of the thumb. We've got abductor digiti minimi from pisiform here into the proximal interphalangeals of the finger, little finger, sorry. Then we've got abductor pollicis, which goes from the second, third, and fourth metacarpal. So let's say, okay, so this is second, third, and fourth into the proximal interphalangeal of the thumb. We've got opponens pollicis, which goes from trapezium into the whole length of the palmar first metacarpal, so around this area, and it does opposition. We've got opponens digiti minimi, which comes from the projection hamate into the palmar surface of the fifth. Then we've got opponens digiti minimi, which comes from the hamate around here into the palmar surface of the fifth. We've got palmar interossae, which are basically around the metacarpals, and what they do. Palmar, pat. Is it adduction? I forgot that one. And then we've got dorsal interossae, which also it comes from the dorsal side and is within the metacarpals. I can't remember now if they do abduction or adduction, and that's it.